Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Them Nerds. That is Jerry. I am Tony, and this is Fantasy Friday. Today, for Fantasy Friday, we decided to do a little bit of what if. And the what if this week is, what if one of the other Avengers would have used the gauntlet to snap Thanos away? Instead of Tony Stark ending his run, his life, etc., what if someone else would have picked it up? Jerry, we each decided to pick one guy or girl. Or equal opportunity here at Them Nerds. Who'd you choose?
I went with StarLord. Not an official member of the Avengers, but right. I mean, obviously was a player in the final battle. Yes. And I went with that because StarLord has already proven that he can hold an Infinity Stone and survive. So it would make more sense to me that you would utilize the guy who's already shown he can handle Infinity Stones. And also doesn't help that he's or doesn't hurt that he's half celestial. So chances are he probably could have survived it altogether.
I think from a story perspective, StarLord would have made a lot of sense because of his connection to Gamora and obviously to Thanos and that whole thing. Would have made a lot of sense. Yeah. And you're right. He was able to hold the stone. His dad is a planet. So yeah, definitely. So let's approach the what if part of that. What if he would have gotten it? How would things have played out differently? What would have been different about the outcome of the film?
I think that, they could have utilized it in a way where it could have kind of built more of a bond with the Guardians, with the Earth level Avengers altogether. I also just think that Tony Stark, I don't know if I would have gone a way of killing him off in a movie when they could have just like watched him walk off into the sunset and still brought him in occasionally in little cameos every once in a while. So I think that you also needed a leader after this group. And the way I see it is you have Earth-based, heroes, and you have these, space-based heroes. Mm-hmm. And so he could be the leader of that by taking that mantle and have been the person who, because he's already, his whole point of his character is he wants the world to know who StarLord is.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. Nothing tells somebody who StarLord is like the idea that he brought back half of civilization all over the universe.
Right. One of my favorite little moments ever in the MCU was when Jamon Hunsu, he said, "I'm StarLord."
Yeah.
He goes, "Who?"
Yeah.
He's like, "StarLord, man, come on." It was great. So in your scenario, in your what if StarLord put on the gauntlet and he did the snap, he'd survive it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I actually wouldn't mind even seeing like a repeat of the first movie, where it's the reason why StarLord doesn't succumb to the stones is the idea that the team takes the hit together. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you could have seen something like that where they already know what they got to do. I just think that if you're going to pick an MVP out of them, I'm going to pick the person who's actually held the stone. I think the only other person that could justify it would be I guess maybe Captain Marvel and Scarlet Witch, because they both have some form of the stones inside of them.
Right. Well, speaking of people who have had experience with the stones, my choice also had some experience with one of the stones when it was in the form of some ether. And that is Thor Odin's son. The accents strike again.
Yes.
If I was writing this up,
like that was Andre the Giant in Princess Bride.
Yes. If I was writing this up, I when I was thinking about who I would have do this, I looked at the outcomes for all the characters, right? So, Captain America, he goes back in time to replace the stones and ends up, living out the last of his days or whatever. Stark dies, spoilers. And the rest of the team, we sort of just see as like being, yay, we won, and things just sort of like go back to normal, except for Thor. And Thor decides he's going to pass off the crown of Asgard to Valkyrie, and he takes off with the Guardians, right? So when I was thinking of who could do this, I thought if Thor did this, right, because he's a god, right, and you would think that he would be powerful enough to hold this. He even though he started his whole spot in the MCU as being kind of like brash, cocky, whatever, like his dad was telling him like you're not worthy yet or whatever.
Yeah.
Like in the end, he gives up the crown of Asgard because he realizes there are other people who are important to the overall scheme of things, and he kind of lets them take the reins. So I would have liked to see him do that, survive, and still decide to go off with the Guardians. And I thought that it would be kind of a cool one if, Doctor Strange said he saw so many different possible outcomes, right? What if he whispered in Thor's ear, like, this is what's going to happen? Stark's going to take it. He's going to die, blah, blah, blah. And Thor was like, no, I'm not going to let it happen. And he does it, right? Because he knows that Stark needs to still be around to lead the team. He knows that Captain America has a more important job ahead of him, and he decides to do it himself. Valkyrie still takes over as the leader of Asgard. Thor still takes off out into space. And then we're left with Stark still there to lead the team, or at least to be there, like you mentioned, like walk off into the sunset, but still be around in an advisory role. Maybe he could still act as a mentor for Peter Parker. Maybe he could still, maybe he could bring Ironheart into the group, as we talked about before. I feel like, we were kind of left without a leader. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Stark's gone. Rogers is gone. Danvers is going to be out in space doing space things. And now Thor's going to be out in space doing space things. Unfortunately, I think we were kind of all under the impression that Black Panther was going to sort of take up that mantle. And now that's not going to happen because of Chadwick Boseman's untimely passing.
Yeah, I think I'm guessing that the leader is going to have to come from maybe what's happening with the whole Falcon and Winter Soldier situation. Maybe that's part of the reason why it took a little bit longer to wrap up. Maybe they had to tie up some loose ends to be able to make that happen. But I definitely agree with the idea of Thor, especially when you think about in the comic books. There has been a time where Thor has his arm chopped off and he has like kind of like a robotic arm.
Right.
And so you could have it, have a gnarly arm like Hulk did after he used it, and just
right. And people always talk about like plot armor for like the big stars. I don't want Thor to go into space with the Guardians and have that kind of like Superman problem that Danvers kind of has, where it's like he's a god, most things are not going to be difficult for him. So it might have been kind of a cool alternate sort of setup for him to go off into space, weakened from using the gauntlet, maybe missing the arm, and he's not exactly, the powerful person that he is going to be, and he'd have to rely on the rest of the team a little bit. Plus, think of all of the Rocket jokes about an arm, right? I know a guy that's got an arm, but
they definitely weaken him. I mean, he's going to have to spend a lot of time in zero gravity on a Bowflex, so.
Hanging upside down. All right. Now, of course, we could make this like a 3-hour-long show, and we could do a what if for every single person on the team. But, Thor, StarLord could have taken us in drastically different directions. What would you guys have done? Who would have gotten the gauntlet? Did they get it right with Stark? Would you have chosen differently knowing we were going to be robbed of more T'Challa on screen? What would you do? Who would you put it on? Tell us in the comments. Like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow us on social media at WeThemNerds on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Check out Jerry's Spotlight constantly running on Instagram. Great stuff. G.I. Joe, the Joker, lots of boner jokes in that one. It's great. It's a good one. I'm still stuck on that. Anyway, thanks for joining us today, guys, on this Fantasy Friday where we did a little bit of what if. And don't forget to tune in every Friday for Fantasy Friday, every Thursday for Throwback Thursday, every Tuesday for Top 5 Tuesday, and whenever else we feel like putting stuff up, like news, thoughts, whatever. Facebook Lives where we ramble about The Mandalorian. Who knows, right? All right, guys. Take care. Take care of each other. Bye.
Later.